Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports, Chase Sr. here with you. Hope everybody out there is having a fantastic weekend. I'm going to talk about two moves that have changed things drastically for the Philadelphia Eagles in which the Birds made during the offseason. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek as to what we're talking about on today's show because this is today's poll question. What was the better, more significant move for this team? Was it hiring Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, type VF? Was it the signing of Saquon Barkley, type SB? We're really going to get a peek as to what people think is more important, offense or defense. Let me know down in the comment section right now. Let's begin with this man right here, the Dunmore, northeastern Pennsylvania native who grew up a Philadelphia sports fan who's now a legendary coach for the Philadelphia Eagles because what he's doing with this team and the turnaround that we've witnessed is indeed spectacular, and it's under the definition of legendary. It really is wild and incredible to see what we've witnessed this year with Vic Fangio calling the plays, running this defensive system for this Philadelphia Eagles defense. And I put together my guide for what I look for a good defense. If I were running an organization, if I were scouting a team, if I were Howie Roseman in his general manager perch, and I'm looking at what the Eagles are doing, or I'm looking at what my football team is doing, I want my defense to check all of these boxes. Of course, first and foremost, you need good production. You need creativity and adjustments. You can't be predictable as a defense. Sometimes you have to throw the kitchen sink at the offense. You have to be unpredictable, and you have to have some new wrinkles. And Vic Fangio has been able to do that this year. No scheme breakdowns on the back end. If you have scheme breakdowns on the back end, that is a sign of bad coaching because it means, and it shows on tape, the players don't know what to do, and they're not in the right positions to have success. Speaking of that, no communication miscues. How impressive is it this year compared to last year? How this Eagles defense and the defensive players know where to be and they communicate with all of this pre-snap motion that we see and the creativity that we see from these modern offensive minds. They always seem to be in a right position to make plays and in the right spot at the right time. We flipped the page. Good tackling. Eagles were an awful tackling unit last year. This year, everybody's swarming to the rock. You have to be good on third downs and in the red zone. That's what I call the money areas and on money downs. If teams continue to convert on third downs, they move the chains, they wear your defense down. It keeps your offense stale on the sideline, and if they capitalize in the red zone, of course, it's a big difference between 3 points and 7 points if they're able to score touchdowns. You have to be stout against the run and the pass. I want to see player development. We have seen that this year for this Eagles team. These young players, they've taken those leaps. These diamonds in the rough like Zach Bond, they've turned into really good players. That comes down to coaching, both from the defensive coordinator, but the position coaches that he hires all across this defense. And then also, as a great coach, you want to maximize personnel. And Vic Fangio has been able to maximize players on this Eagles defense. They've been so sound at all three levels. Fangio deserves credit for that. And look at these defensive numbers from poll to poll, start to where we are right now, heading into Week 14. Philadelphia's defense, 4th in points per game at 18.2, number 1 in yards per game, 282.8. In today's modern era of offensive football, it's just wild. Number 1 in yards per play at 4.8, number 2 on third downs, number 5 in the red zone. And then you look at how drastically things have changed from last year to the 2024 campaign. I'm not even kidding. Last year, and I've said this a few times on the show, one of the worst defensive units I have ever seen in my entire existence of watching football. And I fell in love with this game when I was like 4 years old back in 1996. I aged myself, but it gives you some context. In 2023, the Eagles were 26th in yards per game allowed defensively, 25th in yards per play, 30th on third downs. They couldn't get off the field. They couldn't get stops in the red zone. 30th in red zone touchdown percentage, 24th in sack percentage. In 2024, they are first in yards per game. 25 team improvement right there. Second in yards per play, improved by 23. They are second on third downs, 5th in the red zone, and 7th in sack percentage. Unbelievable. Really, unbelievable. I don't like using that word because a lot of things are believable. I did not envision this much of a turnaround happening so quickly. I thought that they were going to be at least middle of the pack, which would have been better because then you still lean on that offense, but they have been superb. And then the important statistic of points per game allowed. In 2023, the Birds gave up 23.6 points per game. That was 28th in the league. Now, in a league where games are often decided by one score or less, it's dropped down by 5.5 points to 18.2. That's number 4 in the National Football League. And how about this? Since coming out of the bye week, what did I mention a little bit earlier? Sign of a good defense and a great defensive coordinator? Adjustments, maximizing personnel, having your defense humming, everybody running to the football. These are the Eagles' defensive rankings since the bye week, and their bye week was in week 5. So since week 6, that Cleveland Browns game, first in defensive points per game, 13.4 for 2 months straight. First in total defense, first in yards per play, first in passing defense, first in yards per pass allowed, first in 3-and-out percentage, first in sacks. Ladies and gentlemen, they have 30 sacks in 8 games. First in sack percentage naturally. First in forced fumbles, producing turnovers, winning the plus-minus, huge in determining games, another sign of a good defense, and second in passer rating allowed. You think we're done? Haha, no. Sound like John Gruden there. Third in third down defense, 5th in rushing defense, and 5th in takeaways. Can you believe what we're seeing? This is not possible without Vic Fangio. And so Howie Roseman deserves credit for this signing. Nick Sirianni deserves credit for this hiring as well. And Fangio's mentality, he comes from Dunmore, an old school iron railroad town. It's gritty up in northeastern Pennsylvania. It's a lunch pail to work type of mentality, just like in Philadelphia. That might not work in Miami, where it's always 85 degrees, where you get done work and you go to the beach. You get the vitamin D with the sunshine, good weather all the time. Philadelphia is not Miami. And so Vic Fangio is a perfect fit for the Eagles and their history as an organization, but how they're constructed roster-wise and how they like to play football. Bully ball and smash mouth. And this Eagles defensive core, they could be around for years to come. Cooper DeJean is only 21. Jalen Carter is only 23. Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Hunt, Nakobe Dean, also 23. Jordan Davis, 24. Milton Williams, 25. Reed Blankenship, 25. And we'll see what happens with Milton Williams after this year because he is set to be a free agent. Today's Eagles Now, sponsored by our friends at GameTime. What time is it? Game time. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, and when you do that, you get $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. You think about creating football content on YouTube, it's a crowded and competitive marketplace. The ticketing industry, it's a crowded and competitive marketplace. But this is why GameTime sets itself above everybody else. Best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer. They have flash deals and zone deals. The technology within this app is awesome. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect once you arrive at the stadium. And I think it's so awesome how you can literally see the viewpoint and the price point behind the seats that you will be purchasing. If you want to go to Eagles-Panthers coming up on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field, plenty of tickets available at all levels. Here's an example of another view that you get. This is that seat map type of view. If you're very specific about what yard line you want to sit at, oh, I want to sit midfield, 200 level. Boom. Tickets available right there. I also suggest that you toggle the all-in pricing tool. Therefore, no surprise fees at checkout. So, one more time, download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Terms apply. First purchase only, and you get $20 off with that purchase. Next up here on the show, how about the 2024 season that Eagles running back Saquon Barkley is having? It's one of the finest all-around offensive seasons that we have ever seen from a skill position player in the history of this organization and in the history of the National Football League. What makes Saquon elite? One-of-one athlete. He is what I call a rare breed. That jump cut ability. You might think that you have him under wraps, you're going to tackle him. Boom. Then he's gone, he hits the hole, and he's taking it to the crib for 70. He has patience and explosion. What I like about Saquon and how he runs behind this stout offensive line, he'll wait for the hole to open up. Once he sees it, he explodes through it. Then he has that breakaway speed, the power and agility. He can make you miss, short area quickness, make you miss in a phone booth. He will backwards hurdle you. He has the speed to then have that burst to get it out to the sideline, but then he gets faster as the play develops. I love his dual threat ability. He can catch the ball out of the backfield on wheel routes. He can line up in the slot. He can also run inside, run outside. He can run under center or have success running it out of the shotgun. He's a home run threat anytime he gets his hands on the pill, and his conditioning is great. He gets better as the game progresses. His fourth quarter, second half numbers are flat out dominant, and we've seen it time and time again this year. And what a year that Saquon is having. He's number one in the league in carries with 246, number one in rushing yards with 1,499, atop all ball carriers in yards per carry at 6.1, number one in rushing yards per game at 124.9, and he has 13 total touchdowns. That number could be close to 20 if the Eagles didn't run the brotherly shove so much when they get to the one or inside the one. And as far as Saquon getting stronger, this is pretty nuts. If Saquon Barkley only played in the second half of games this year, he would still be fourth overall in rushing yards in the National Football League. It's crazy. Now, in the first half, his numbers are really good. 117 carries, 517 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, along a 55. In the second half, 129 carries, so plus 12 there. 982 yards in the second half of ball games this year. Yards per carry goes up by 3.2 yards to 7.6. Touchdowns goes up by 5, and he had those 270-plus yard touchdown runs against the Rams, with that long being 72. There have been a few Eagles over the course of franchise history to receive at least one MVP vote. Saquon's going to get at least one MVP vote. Shoot, he might win it. He's probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year if he stays healthy. Jalen Hurts finished MVP runner-up in 2022. Carson Wentz, the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl without him, even though he got hurt. He finished third in MVP voting. Probably would have won the award if he stayed upright and healthy. In 2000, Donovan McNabb was the MVP runner-up. 1991, Seth Joyner, fifth in MVP voting. Randall Cunningham, a couple of times, 1990 and in 1988, he was second. Ron Jaworski, the year that the Eagles lost to the Raiders in the Super Bowl, finished fourth. And Harold Carmichael, the great wide receiver, 1979, he finished sixth. Wilbert Montgomery, eighth in 1979. Pete Retzlaff, fourth in 1965. And in 1961, Sonny Jurgensen, he finished third. Anybody watching this show right now who is alive for this? If so, I want you to type me down in the comment section, because that'd be pretty wild, and that means that you're a real one Eagles fan. That is for sure. So will Saquon win NFL MVP? Type W for yes, he'll win it. L for he's going to lose it to a player like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Sound off. Share your opinions with me down in the comment section right now.